I'm wearing one of our pieces of merchandise. So the funny thing about the Dragon Squad, and that's what our viewers call themselves. That's the name of the group, but every individual chooses their own name. You might have Cincinnati Dragon. You might have Harry Potter Dragon. We have a Grandma Sunshine Dragon is one of those that I remember. These are people that like to have an element of themselves, their lives, what's significant to them reflected as a part of the community. But the concept of the Dragon Squad is just something I threw away as a joke. I was mocking the Proud Boys, these like right-wing groups that come up with a name for themselves that they think is cool, but it's actually really lame. And I thought, off the top of my head, I can come up with something that's still kind of lame, but much cooler. And so I threw out Dragon Squad, and I just moved on with my
Hey everybody, it's a Wednesday version of the watch list. It's January 26th. It was my birthday. Say it feels like the same day. It's just what it is. It's what happens. Anyway, welcome you guys to the watch list. It is another beautiful day here on the show where we break down the videos that drive the news and the views of the day, the things that you're gonna be paying attention to. And if you haven't yet, you will be paying attention to some of those things. So naturally today, I have someone who is definitely handmade, ready to break down videos, to talk about things that are happening. We've got Rayyvana to help us here. Rayyvana is, if you guys don't know about her, come on now. She's on Twitch, she's everywhere. She's a Twitch partner. She's the host of Ray Actions, which is also on the Twitch channel. That's every Thursday at 4 Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific at twitch.tv/TYT. Also, I think she's a law student. She works at the corner store. She drives. What else do you do?
I think you got it all there. Thank you so much for having me on, and congrats on the show. I've loved it so far.
Yeah, well, see, you guys don't know this, but right before we came on, Ray told me. So I saw this yesterday, then I saw the day before, and I was like, damn, I gotta start watching everyone else's shows as closely as they're watching me. I
am trying to guilt you into watching my show more often.
Hey, I did dive in on the chat a couple times, so I mean, I'm trying. So you guys, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We appreciate you being here. We will get to your comments very soon, but even sooner than that, I think we're gonna get to this first story. Dash cam footage was recorded. It was made available from a police officer that was running down a motorcyclist that had been running. It was a high-speed chase. He took off, got away, eventually crashed his bike, and that's when the police caught up with him. Now, here's a quick image of that moment when they caught up with him. There will be a video of what happened as they caught up with him, but for those of you who don't want to see someone get run over by a car, look away in just a moment. So the officer is Jonathan Granado, and he noticed that he had crashed his bike and he went after him. And then this graphic moment happened. Let's watch. So that distorted sound you heard was an officer cackling satisfaction along the way that he got his man. So the police chief did point out that this was an accident. He said this Lake Worth police chief says the evidence suggests that it may have been an accident. So as soon as he applied the brakes, the car began to go into a slide. This is what this guy said. There was no criminal charges that were also filed against him. This happened in November of 2020, and we've gotten to this point where we've now seen the body cam evidence. And of course, immediately after it came out, you may believe that the police chief, what he said, it was an accident, he slid, he was just chasing, he's doing what he was doing. Also, as far as, so Grand Prairie Police led the criminal investigation into Officer Granado's crash in an attempt to be an unbiased third party. The case was sent to Tarrant County Grand Jury, which declined to indict the officer. That was just last year, and the cop did soon resign afterwards for unknown reasons. I'm not really sure why he did, considering there was no charges, and it seems like the department was backing him up on this. So when we're looking at the body cam evidence of this, after he got hit by the car, the officers, listen to what they said again. We heard the cackling, now more.
He's running on foot. Oh. Get on the ground! Get on the ground! I hit my brakes and it slid, and I hit him with the front of the car.
He ran, turned around me.
Probably shouldn't have ran there. I know.
So he points out what happened. He slid, he hit the brakes, he slid directly into the fleeing suspect. Maybe he shouldn't have ran, because that's a consequence for running. That's a consequence for breaking the law. That's a consequence for running off from the cops, is to get hit by their car with a battering ram apparatus in the front. No, I'm sorry, I don't know the name of the equipment, but it definitely ran over a human being. So this is good police work. This is how we approach things in the country. Am I right, Rayyvana?
I mean, I just don't buy for 1 second that, like, I mean, maybe he did apply his brakes at the last minute and slid a little bit in the grass, but why on earth was he going that fast anyway? The man was on foot. You were in a car. You were gonna catch up to him. You could have gone significantly slower and got up to him and avoided this entire catastrophe. I mean, I think the idea that it was some sort of, prescient, like we had to catch him, we had to go this fast, we had to do that, we had to run him over. It was a traffic stop. He was running away from was it an accident or it was a traffic stop or whatever? The consequence for that is not getting run over by a police car. It's especially given the cop saying at the end, you shouldn't have ran. I mean, last time I checked, running away from the cops is not, a near-death sentence. And there's seemingly no remorse here. It's just disgusting all around, and just so hard to watch.
Well, you said last you checked, running from the cops was not a near-death sentence, and last I checked, it is. Because this happens enough of the time that there's an adrenaline that pumps. There's something where they're like, we got to get this guy. I can't believe he would disrespect me by taking off on me. I was trying to pull him over for a simple traffic stop, maybe, or maybe something serious. Whichever one it was it serious enough to have to go through running him over and potentially killing him, then having to explain that. The last part about that is what the problem is. They probably don't have to do too much explaining when it comes to something like this. Again, his partner or whoever was there that was with him decided to say, well, maybe he shouldn't have run. So he breaks the law, he does the wrong thing, and then after that, the sentence is run him over. Even if it's an accident, now it's okay for us to do that. This is the attitude and energy that's been given and that has been cultivated when cops do things like this. It's not, oh my God, I can't believe I ran him over. Hey, okay, help me get him. Because there's no thought that this guy's gonna get back up and run. What is the thought process that this guy can get back up and do something else? Get back on his crashed motorcycle? Maybe run off again? There needs to be a level of calmness, a thought process that goes through. If you're in a dangerous, high energy position like this, haven't you been trained to slow down the heart rate a little bit? Be the one who's calm. You're the officer with the car, the gun, the billy club, the handcuffs, the taser. I'm not sure how many more weapons you can have around you and means of detaining someone, and then still think, I think I'm gonna use this huge car and run him over with it instead. Again, I'll believe him that it slid, but he's angling right at him when it happened.
And I think it just also shows how little, sort of self-control he had in the situation, or he wasn't in the right headspace to be behaving this way or be a cop at all, because he jumps out of the car and points at either his taser or a gun at a man lying on the ground and tells him, get down on the ground. He's there, he's already there. I'm sorry, you should be able to make rational and sound decisions when you have the ability to literally kill people as part of your job. And if you can't even recognize that someone is on the ground and you're telling them to do something that they're already doing, considering you ran them over with your car and they're not gonna be able to get up, you shouldn't be a cop. You shouldn't have that job.
The last thought from me on this is, for everyone who watched that, we had the graphic warning there. For those of you who did watch it, and then you saw the impact of him getting hit, you went, oh, what they did was get on the ground. Shouldn't have been running, huh? So if you support people whose reaction to that kind of an impact with a car on a human is shouldn't have been running, get on the ground, and yours is, you might just have a few things only a couple things you have in common with this guy. You just might not be on the same level as him. You may not think the same way he does. So before you go connecting with cops to do things like this, realize that you don't really think that way. Or if you do, I guess you're signing up next week. Let's move on to this next story.
We did the ivermectin protocol. Without a doubt, it works. And if you can't get it in pill form, I would just say that we had used, because I purchased at our local farm supply store for the horses, the fluid kind, not the paste, but we got the kind that's for the pigs and the cows, the solution ivermectin, which is safe to use. And there is a regimen on how much you take per body weight.
That is just an example of some of the expert advice that's been handed out on this QAnon Telegram channel about how to avoid COVID, how to fight COVID once you've been infected with it. This is a channel that a grandfather of a 6-month-old child, baby, took to try and get some advice because he believed that his grandchild did have COVID. She was experiencing some symptoms and he was a bit worried. And one thing he definitely was not gonna do was take her to some professional care, so he took the telegram. So they gave him lots of advice. So quick spoiler alert, in case you guys don't want to know the hearing, maybe plug your ears. She nearly died. So let's go into some of the details about this. This is what he asked. Do you guys think it's safe to give ivermectin to an infant? First question that he asked that he probably should have had the answer to himself. He wrote that in the chat. Someone responded, baby aspirin to thin the blood a little and drop any fever, and I would put some ivermectin on the bottoms of her feet. Others encouraged Jason to seek out those within the community who were, quote, experts in ivermectin usage. I'm not sure who they completely, maybe they specifically told him, doctor. And then another user called Katie clearly believed that she was also an expert. And she said, from what I understand, yes, it is safe to give it to an infant. However, please stop calling it COVID. It's not COVID, it's a simple cold. And that's how we got into this mess to begin with, is what Katie concluded with. So all this advice that they gave him, slapped some ivermectin on the bottoms of her feet, popped a couple of aspirin in her mouth. 6-month-old, let's not forget that, 6-month-old. And for some reason, things went worse. Continuing on, we gave her 2 doses of ivermectin at 50 milligrams each. That's what was recommended by someone on here. She got really sick after that. Related? I don't know. That's what Jason said when he had an update about how bad things are going. Baby threw up. Is that common side effect? She's also turning a tad blue. Now, there was another user that said, hey, I know about these things. If she's turning blue, she's dying. Take her to the hospital. He ignored that. And when someone did tell him that they'd gone to the emergency room when their child had turned blue, Jason responded, we don't trust hospitals. I told my son to give her more ivermectin. Just pile it on, slap it on her face, maybe her armpits. I don't know, anywhere. It's ivermectin. God gave it to us. And secondly, hospital is not an option. Any other ideas? They gave her another 50 milligrams of ivermectin is what happened. So the baby was taken to the hospital against his wishes. He was all upset about it. Eventually the baby's life was saved. And he did point that out too. He said, let's jump down to graphic 9 really fast, you guys. God knew what to do, even though I thought the hospital was certain death. Thanks for everyone's advice. And luckily his granddaughter survived his attempt to kill her. And if I was Jason's son, who I don't know if he went along with this, to what degree he did, no more babysitting for grandpa, just no more. Rayyvana.
It's horrifying because to some extent I have sympathy for these people who are so brainwashed because they're clearly scared, right? These people are scared of COVID. They're scared of dying. They're worried. He's worried about his grandchild in the most messed up way I could ever imagine. He thinks he's doing the right thing. Somehow in his delusions, but it's just makes me so angry at the people who are profiting off of pushing this information, right? The people who stand to make money by telling people that ivermectin is a cure to COVID, and that you shouldn't get vaccinated, but you should instead take all these other things that have never been proven to treat COVID, because they're just profiting off of these people's fears and playing into their ignorance, and it's disgusting. I will say though, I think that it's offensive to pigs that they used pig ivermectin, because pigs are extremely smart and definitely way smarter than these people.
Yeah, well, do you know what? Maybe they're trying to break up the whole, people calling it horse paste and it's pig paste. Now, it's the liquid form is for pigs. So this is supposed to be better. And again, 6 months old, anyone who's had a child knows that even when you're giving them any other kind of medication that would seemingly be okay for a baby, you check labels, you look for it, you're like, let me see what this has done for the other folks. 6 months old. Now, he believed it was COVID, and that was his one mistake within the group. Can't call COVID. And who knows if it was or not, but what if it was just a cold? What if it was some sniffles and he's slapping ivermectin on the bottoms of her feet and she's turning blue? What if they were right that it wasn't COVID? And now the freak out comes to anything that happens to make sure that, number one, let's galvanize our identity here as anti-vaxxers and anti-maskers and whatever else we're anti, is to say, hey, let's turn down the fact that you're calling that COVID. It's nothing but the common cold. Let's slap some ivermectin on it. I thought ivermectin was for COVID. If COVID doesn't exist, why are you using ivermectin? It doesn't have to make sense, does it? It just has to confirm your identity as this person who's against the regime, against Dr. Fauci. Just think things through before you kill each other. Now, one more. Now, the fact that this channel led him down this road is absolutely unsurprising because this is the same channel again. It's run by Mike Penny. He's a conspiracy theorist and a close ally of Michael Protzman, who's the leader of a cult-like group who had been holed up in Dallas for the last 3 months, waiting for JFK to come back. As you'll see in this video, they're still waiting. They're still waiting.
It is almost 12:29. Any minute now, the big reveal. Crowd is big, ready to go.
Any minute now, or hour, day, weeks, months, any year now, he's gonna show back up. Is what's gonna happen. This, if you see this happen, and you're watching how they fall apart when they try to have this kind of a group, which by the way, that's a pretty big crowd for something like this, and it doesn't work out. Why would you then go to that same channel and go, anybody got any good advice?
You gotta trust the plan, Jayar. He's still on his way, okay? It's just been really bad traffic for the past few months. It's just like how Trump is going to assume the throne and kick Biden out of the White House and become the president on January 6th. Wait, no, January 20th. Wait, no, 2022. Wait, no, 2027. Somewhere, you just gotta trust the plan. You gotta believe in it.
This is sad. There's this many people out there. And what, are we not supposed to make fun of folks to do this? Now, I've been the one who said it. Making fun of folks doesn't get them to change their minds. But also looking at each other, not see the results of what they're looking for also doesn't change their minds. It's almost a point where you just have to point out, hey, anyone else, cautionary tale. If you find yourself anywhere near this type of thought process, think again for one more moment. Again, this is for the group of people who said, think for yourself. Mm-hmm. Think for yourself is the preaching. So
yeah.
Please.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's move on to this next story, Ray. It's a little about politics here. So Nancy Pelosi has announced that she's going to run for re-election. She did this yesterday via a nice, long, robust video about who she is and what she cares about and why you should vote for her again. Let's go. Let's watch that.
When people ask me what are the 3 most important issues facing the Congress, I always say the same thing. Our children, our children, our children. Their health, their education, the housing and economic security of their families, a clean, safe environment in which they can thrive, and a world at peace and where they are all welcome and in which they can reach their fulfillment. That is my why I am in Congress, for the children. This is my story, and this is my song. As you hear me say, when you're in the arena, you have to be able to take a punch or throw a punch for the children.
I'm confused about the energy here. I'm just okay. So she's for the children. I was really close to doing an impression, but I'm probably really bad at it. So she's for the children, very calmly and politely, for the children. And there's a weird half smile. We gotta fight. That's what I'm here for. Back to the children. It's really weird. I'm trying to find the energy and also the communication factor here. Who are you trying to communicate with? Who are you trying to convince that they should vote for you? The people who already support you? They've got you already. You got to try and convince people who have seen the way you've approached things like the insider trading that's going on in DC politics amongst nearly everyone in Congress. You have to see the people who point out how you're a little bit out of touch with how people are, or how you've rejected many of the progressive folks within the caucuses and the groups. How you've avoided all of this is who you should be trying to convince. Is this really? I know, and I hear you. It was a 3-minute long ad. It was a 3-minute long pitch. But really, what's the energy here? I have an idea. There's more energy from this guy named Chuck Schumer. This is more fighting from the top of the Democratic Party. Watch.
They will do and say anything they can to try and steal power. And I've had enough of it. Democrats are fighting back as hard as we can to protect the right to vote, but we need you in this fight. I'm personally asking you to sign the petition to protect voting rights and stand up against this despicable attack on our democracy. Please add your name on this petition before the deadline closes. We must protect the right to vote.
Man, there's a fire in my belly. Hey, you guys, the show's over. I'm gonna go sign this petition because Chuck Schumer just lit me on fire. I can't wait to sign this petition. He's the most exciting politician I've ever seen in my life. Oh my God, where's this guy been hiding? Are you inspired, Ray? You're a little younger than me. Maybe because it's the slow pace. My inner old man should go ahead and just accept this. What do you feel?
I feel, okay, you asked what the energy is here. It's weird. The energy is weird. The vibes are all the way off. Nancy Pelosi is like semi-sentient there, like just coming in and out of consciousness, talking about fighting children or something. I don't know. There's no like punch there. There's no like real call to action, and she posted this video with the caption that we need to organize. Like, when we're down, we don't like give up, we organize. You've never organized anything in your life. Maybe your fridge full of Jenny's ice cream, but like beyond that, you win because you have money. You don't need to organize the voters in your district. You win because you have the most money and you've been there, longer than I've been alive, right?
That's what she's saying. That's the organization. That's the political talk for organization. I've organized money because that's the way it's driven. Again, money in politics is the driver for all of this. If you have complaints about anything from politics, if you're a conservative right now who's very upset about what the Democrats are doing, or you're beginning to realize what Republicans are doing, it's the money. That's the basis for all of these problems. Now, back to the money, Chuck Schumer is organizing. He said, please sign this petition because the Republicans won't listen until we sign a petition. Hey, Republicans want to take away voting rights until you sign a petition. The Republicans hate you, but if you sign this petition, they'll go, oh, sorry guys, they got us. Guess we're gonna have to do something different. Chuck Schumer, who is the head of the Senate Democrats, needs you to sign a petition before he can convince Republicans to do something right, or before he can get on air and talk about how much they're blocking everything. What is it about signing a petition that's gonna help Chuck Schumer? Chuck Schumer's in office. Chuck Schumer is the leader of the Democrats in the Senate. He needs you to sign a petition. You know why he needs you to sign a petition? Let's scroll. Let's go to this next graphic here. He needs you to sign a petition because after you sign it, they're gonna ask you to give them some money. Remember I said it goes back to money? The petition equals money. The petition does not equal, hey, let's change people's minds. Hey, let's show other members of Congress that the American people want this from this petition. We need you to sign this petition and give us some more cash so we can get back in office and ask you again.
Yeah, it's really like your donation is going towards the Democrats to remain in office and be as feckless and impotent as they always have been, and not pass voting rights again, and not pass infrastructure again, and give no one a reason to vote. It is just so pathetic. And I mean, the Democratic Party is literally run by losers. Like the people at the head of the DNC are people who lost elections, telling the voters that we need to trust their knowledge on how to run campaigns and appeal to the voters, and sign this petition, and that's how you'll get more people to vote for you and support your party moving forward. Oh, but wait, that's not even a real petition. It's just a fraud to give us more money so we can continue to suck.
You know what? I've never done a GoFundMe. We're short on time really fast, but I've never done a GoFundMe, but if you have a GoFundMe and you say, hey, I need $10,000 for this super surgery and I can't afford it, you guys please help me. I would love for my community to help out. You get $12,000 and then you go spend the $12,000 on a new car, not a new car, at least a down payment, I guess, on a car. And then isn't it probably the solution for the GoFundMe people, maybe the people who donated to you, to go, wait a second, what about that surgery? So when politicians ask you for money and then say, here, thank you, I've raised all this money, now thank you for getting me back in office, you haven't spent the money on what you said you were gonna spend it on, which is doing something for the people who've given you the money to get you back in office. If GoFundMe can have policies around it, which I hope they do, maybe we should start having policies around that too. Anyways, let's take a quick break. I've spoken long enough at this moment, but when we come back, we will be talking about, what do we have coming up? Oh man, we had a marathon podcast yesterday. Joe Rogan invited a highly intellectual gentleman on named Jordan Peterson, and they had highly intellectual things to say. Ray and I will break it down when we come back.
I'm wearing one of our pieces of merchandise. So the funny thing about the Dragon Squad, and that's what our viewers call themselves. That's the name of the group, but every individual chooses their own name. You might have Cincinnati Dragon. You might have Harry Potter Dragon. We have a Grandma Sunshine Dragon is one of those that I remember. These are people that like to have an element of themselves, their lives, what's significant to them reflected as a part of the community. But the concept of the Dragon Squad is just something I threw away as a joke. I was mocking the Proud Boys, these like right-wing groups that come up with a name for themselves that they think is cool, but it's actually really lame. And I thought, off the top of my head, I can come up with something that's still kind of lame, but much cooler. And so I threw out Dragon Squad, and I just moved on with my life. But everybody liked it, and so they kept it going, and so we've embraced it. And I think again, this was during the period of the pandemic. I think it was sort of nice to have a renewed sense of community, a feeling that you're a part of something when everything seems so chaotic. And as a result of that, we've got independent artists online streaming, making beautiful digital art of dragons. We've got, we've released a number of pieces of merchandise that people love sending us photos of them. And then by the way, for me personally, people send me, like you can probably see in the background, like a knitted dragon someone sent me. There's a dragon book they sent me, dragon board games they send me. People have done like custom ironworks, making dragon bottle openers. Like the fans are super invested in diamond art and things like that. And so it's great that they send this stuff. Sometime we're gonna have to set up a wall of all of it. But yeah, it's definitely brought the community a lot closer together. The fact that we were no longer in this big studio, I felt a lot more personally attached to people. It felt very immediate. And I know that I personally needed the connection.
Did you know that more than 20% of the world's oxygen comes from the Amazon? Why? Because of trees. I know what you're thinking. Of course! So what do we want to do? We want to plant more trees so we can save the climate. It's quite literal. So that's what leads to our new partner, Plant Your Change. Love it. It's so easy. What they do is you take the credit or debit cards you already have and you plug it into the system. And if you so choose, you get to round up every purchase to the nearest dollar and they plant a tree for you, okay? Now you could also choose if you wanna do it on only certain kinds of purchases or only so often, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But literally every cent makes a difference here. It's Plant Your Change. And if you wanna know more information, just go to tyt.com/trees. Let's go save the planet together.
Now, top. No. No. No.
Today, a terrible day for the internet, a terrible day for America. The internet as we know it is not going to exist anymore.
A real dark day for information and yet another way that they're bleeding out the democracy.
We're now going to have these gatekeepers of information deciding what we can and can't see, and that's what scares me the most.
Whether you're conservative or progressive or anywhere in the middle, this is the one thing we should all agree to. Protect the internet, because the establishment is coming for it. Don't let them destroy the internet.
You guys, I am back on the watch list. I'm still joined by Rayyvana. She's not left yet. We've not angered her enough. Maybe we can have a couple happy things happen today. That'd be lovely. By the way, Rayyvana also does videos for TYT's Rebel HQ as well. You forgot about that part. See, I knew there was more stuff. I knew.
Yes, I should have mentioned that. Shame on me. Check them out, YouTube and Facebook.
She's got a lot to say, and she's wonderful at it. Let's go to some of your comments really fast before we start these next stories. Oh my God, this hour goes by so fast. The next TYT reporter says, weird how an uncontrollable slide he managed to still aim for the subject. That's in response to that first video we did with the cop who accidentally ran into the suspect as he slid across the grass, hit him dead in the middle of his car. Luckily not dead in the middle of his car, but right in the middle of his car. Twitch, just here for the free drinks and gifted 5 tier 1 subs. Thank you very much. YouTube super chat says that officer definitely meant to hit him. Another sadistic cop on a power trip. That's from Waldorf Nation. Thank you very much. Omega Shinron Dragon says GTA in real life is not okay at all, let alone for a cop. Also can get me and the wife a shout out for making 10 years together. Y'all are killing it today. Shout out Omega Shinron Dragon. You and your wife, hope you guys enjoy your day. It was a good day to get married. You should have gotten married the day before on my birthday. You had a better day. It's okay. It's all right. 10 years. Congrats. Good job. Armed Liberal says breaking Supreme Court judge to retire. Exactly. That's what I wanted you to set me up for. So that's the breaking news here. Justice Stephen Breyer has decided to retire from the United States Supreme Court, which will of course open up an avenue for President Biden to appoint another justice to the Supreme Court now. And as our other guy here was pointing out, that now that he's got the opportunity to appoint someone, I'm not sure how Mitch McConnell and the Republicans are gonna find a way to say, well, we can't confirm anyone because this is only the first year of his term. Who knows? They're gonna come up with something. We're gonna find those new ways to destroy the country and make sure that they control as much as possible as we go. But that is the breaking news. We'll see where this goes. It's gonna continue to break down, but let's get to some of the news, back to some of the news for today with this video that I just promised you guys.
What did Michael Eric Dyson call you? A mean angry white man?
Yeah, and a mean, angry white man, yeah.
Hilarious.
I am white. Actually, that's a lie too. I'm kind of tan. Do I have to say this?
Yeah,
and he was brown, not black.
Well, isn't that weird?
You know, do I have to say this?
Like black and white thing is so strange because the shades are so
tan and brown.
There's such a spectrum of shades of people.
Okay, I'm gonna say it.
Well, unless you're talking to someone who is like 100% African from the darkest place where they're not wearing any clothes all day and they've developed all that melanin to protect themselves from the sun. And when you use it for people that are literally my color, it becomes very strange.
Yeah.
Now, the climate change one is a weird one. So that one.
That's because there's no such thing as climate, right? Climate and everything are the same word. Well, how did you decide which set of variables to include in the equation if it's about everything? And that's not just a criticism. That's like, if it's about everything, your models aren't right. Because your models do not and cannot model everything.
What do you mean by everything?
Well, it's also the good comedians are right. They're like musicians. You know, they see this joy just transfuse them. And that's because they got an intimation of genuine meaning. Place of maximal funny is when you're just about pushing it too far. To observe the harmonious interplay of the patterns of being stacked on top of one another, and then to bring yourself into alignment. It's the antidote to their totalitarianism, comedy. And that's why you can tell anybody who goes after a comedian, it's like, oh yeah, I know who you are. You're the king who can't stand the fool. That's the tyrant. So you reveal yourself, same as people who go after musicians or dancers.
Whew. That's a lot of information. I'm still typing. First of all, Ray, please, at any point, because I know you study these folks. But number one, my first question is why do you even consider yourself white? It's not like you're a sheet of paper. What's the matter with you? And obviously, I'm not black because I'm not from, how do you say it? The darkest places in Africa where they wear no clothes. So, you know, I'm not black either. Which, by the way, Joe, those darkest places in Africa where they wear no clothes, as you pointed out, those folks still aren't the color black, you idiot. Sorry, man. It was a New Year's resolution. I wasn't gonna call people idiots and stuff like that, but they know that. They know this. This is to fill, by the way, 4 hours worth of time to talk about things like Michael Eric Dyson called me mean. How dare he call me a white mean person? He's not even black. Is that your response to someone saying that you're crazy and that the things that you spew like this are outrageous? So this is the promo he put up, as we see on the screen now. 4.5 freaking hours is what he said. So that's how long many people, I guess, enjoyed sitting through that. Did you enjoy listening to that? Did you sit through 4.5 freaking hours, Ray?
Never in my life would I do that. I would also like to point out in the promo photo that Jordan Peterson is flooding. He put on a tux to go sit in Joe Rogan's basement and report a podcast, but his tux pants are too short and they're way above his ankles. But I mean, it's just such like a ridiculous okay, you know what white and black mean as far as races go. Both of you know that. I mean, for the love of God, you studied like psychology, Jordan Peterson. You must have had to study, race, and I know that because my roommate studies. She's getting her same degree that Jordan Peterson has, and I listen to her classes sometimes when she's doing them in the office next to me. And they do talk about race and the impacts it has on the field of psychology. So he knows these things. He's just being a victim, potentially. He's just trying to prevent himself as some sort of victim. He called me white. I am not literally the color white. No, but you are a white man. And you're well aware of that. So this whole thing is just absolutely absurd. And then the climate change.
It's everything.
It's everything. I mean, it's not, and we know that because we're not morons, but it's pretty set definition of the meteorological, what's the word? Yeah, it's the weather of a region over time. So to say it's everything, I'm like, come on, dude. And just to push climate denial, right? And
yeah, words like that will allow people. It's again, every time you come up with a simple, simplistic, challenging explanation like will happen for probably 4.5 hours, all it does is give the viewers and supporters of that enough of little sound bites and one-off statements to say, like, well, is climate everything really? And they don't really know what they're asking or what they're looking for as the response. It's just something to throw out there to say, what do you have to say about that smart person? So the smart person, quote unquote, has to be the one who investigates things, looks into why maybe something is called climate or the difference between climate and weather, if you actually are confused by that. Because as I mentioned before, when it came to how things started with COVID and the vaccines, I didn't know anything about how the vaccine would work. So I looked it up because I didn't want to just make a decision without thinking about it. So that's separate. But if you have a question about between climate and weather, you may want to investigate it. Maybe ask someone who's an expert in that field, and rather than just saying, I need to find a way to dispel this by coming up with a one-liner. And then when someone has to give you a detailed response, you just go, I'm not listening anyway. You've been told you're a sheep, you're not thinking for yourself. There is someone who was thinking for himself, and I've always said this is masterfully done. It's the hardest thing to do is to convince someone who is trying to deny reality of what real reality is. They won't listen to you, so you have to convince them. It's a roundabout way of doing this. And this one particular comedian, Jim Jeffries, since Peterson loves comedians and now they push the line and they'll convince and change the world, tyrants and totalitarians. He found a way to get Peterson to actually realize a truth in the world. Let's watch.
Making people bake a cake for a gay wedding.
Making them do it?
Yeah.
I don't think that's a very good idea.
But here's the argument. So should they be able to deny making a cake for a black couple if they don't like black people?
Allowed to? Probably. That doesn't mean it's right.
Okay, so then we had the civil rights movement where they said black people, you had to serve them in your restaurants and stuff like that. And it did work and it did make our society better. But would you argue that that still wasn't right?
No, that was right.
Why is that different to now if you didn't want to make a cake for black people?
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not different. Yeah. Maybe I was wrong about that.
Maybe 2 + 2 is 4. I'm still getting there. I'm almost there, and I tried to not give the answer, but I guess I have to. You got me. You got me.
But black people don't even exist. It's not even a thing according to him. So how could you even bake a cake for a black person? I do think it's like funny because you mentioned this a little bit earlier. Like these people love to attack experts. They are very anti-intellectual, like Joe Rogan and people like him. But then they bring on Jordan Peterson, and if you disagree with something Jordan Peterson says, well, he has a doctorate in psychology. He's an expert. You can't disagree with him, regardless of what he's talking about. He's not an expert in climate. He's not an expert in race, and he's not an expert in half of the things he talks about. I mean, he's literally famous for being wrong and pretending that he was going to be jailed for misgendering trans students. He's only famous for being incorrect very publicly, but we're supposed to never question him on anything. It's ironic. It's ridiculous.
I think it must be the reason why so many people are congratulating themselves when they do say things that are off the wall and get criticized. Can you believe what the woke people said about me? They said what you said was wrong and they told you why it was wrong, and you're offended by it. If someone has told you what you said is wrong and then you're wrong about it, you galvanize support by saying, can you believe that they proved me wrong? Give me some money, watch my show. Okay, sure thing, guy. We'll get to more of this. I was hoping, oh man, it's already 9:40. Look at this, you guys. We gotta take one more break. Before we come back, we're gonna discuss some more great things with Rayyvana. Specifically, I can't wait till you get in on this one. We have a talk show host that thinks that arranged marriages are better than just free decision marriages. Those cultures definitely have an advantage over others that don't. We'll let you know who that is after this.
I'll predict right here for you, Chris. I think Donald Trump will leave office before his term is up. He'll be humiliated, embarrassed, and I know him. He's not gonna wanna lose, and he's gonna run for the hills.
You got that bet all day long.
Okay, let's get after it. Now, so look, Jake has made some good predictions, and this is in good fun. I could not disagree more.
There's no bromance between the two of them. You got that bet all day long, Janky, you. Oh, you stop. In the meantime, let's call him out on the damage.
No, but
I just got a Roku set. Did basically a little bit of channel surfing, and I was like, there we are.
Yeah.
There we are. And then I turned it on, and it was John and Brett on Damage Report making fun of me.
Oh no.
So you are so busted. I even took a picture of it, okay? And they're talking about my predictions. I got a new prediction for you, John Idarola.
You don't see a lot of news coverage in the mainstream media of the peaceful Black Lives Matter protests that happened throughout the country.
Black Americans are hurting. Minorities in this country are hurting.
We always talk about starting from the bottom up, but the problem is the bottom up is always the least amount of power. No one cares about them, and until someone actually cares about them, then we'll do something about it.
Please, for God's sake, America, understand, acknowledge, and work towards getting to a new reality where Black lives actually matter.
Back on the watch list really fast. Oh man, I'm gonna need a 2-hour show in a minute. Anyways, let's get back to y'all's comments really fast. The Dragon who says "Nye" says this has been Peterson's grift for a very long time. He changes the meaning of words to make them fit his jacked up narrative. He's made a career out of being an intellectually dishonest charlatan. Also, happily vaxxed, thank you, says comedy is the anti to authoritarianism. This is why nearly all comics are on the left. Also, from Twitch, Eco Resto Dragon says, as someone who has studied in environmental science, people do not understand the difference between weather and climate. Something I have to explain so many times. And the reason they don't understand it is because they've been told to not understand it. I get it, it's way more complicated even than what I know, but there's a difference and it's obvious to pretty much tell that. Let's get started on this next story, you guys. Daily Wire host Matt Walsh, he's projecting some of his woes from being out on the dating scene and having just way too many options available for him, so much so that it paralyzed him. and he has a solution for this. Let's watch.
Meanwhile, there are far too many choices. So the modern dating scene is what happens when every beggar becomes a chooser. Everyone is lonely and desperate for companionship, but the field is so flooded with options. Now, on the complete opposite end of this spectrum are arranged marriages. Instead of a boundless, never-ending buffet of options, a young person in a culture that practices arranged marriages will be assigned just one, and they don't even make the choice. Their families just pair them up and say, here you go. There's far less freedom and far less autonomy in a system of that sort, but it is without a doubt superior to our system. We would be happier. Every person in the dating scene right now would be happier if they were just matched up with someone against their will. Actually.
Now, by the way, he can have that opinion. There's many people who advocate arranged marriages, and that's their opinion, man. You can have that. But this declarative statement about it's just a fact, they're happier. Really? Rayyvana, would you be happier if someone had arranged a marriage for you at 13 years old to marry a 40-year-old man?
Oh my God, no, absolutely. Like, and he's saying your family picks it. Holy crap, I don't even want to know the type of person my family would force me to get into a marriage with. Like, I love them to death, but I don't think that they know exactly what I'm looking for in a partner. And to that end, as a queer person, essentially what he said, like, if parents are choosing their children's spouses, if they're not supportive of gay relationships, that's out of the question now. You don't even have you don't even get to express your own sexuality. I also want to say, Matt Walsh, you're married. What is your wife thinking? Like, are you unhappy? Is this the way that you're announcing your divorce? That you're unhappy in your marriage? Like, I can't imagine being his wife and just having this clip sent to her over and over again. Like, what's going on at home? Like, things not working out.
He goes home, she'll ask him, he'll go, honey, it was just a shtick. I was just doing it for the, and I don't believe in arranged marriages. Am I crazy? By the way, this is the America-loving conservatives, right? He pointed out specifically, it's less freedom, but it's superior. Less freedom is superior, America. Because we fight for freedom in this country, right? But less freedom is superior. This is a narrative that will continue across many different topics. It's not that it'll continue, it's there. Less freedom is just more America. And that's what we're setting ourselves up for, except when it comes to guns, of course, come on, freedom.
And masks, you can't wear masks, that's anti-freedom. You can't have vaccine mandates or vaccines at all because that's anti-freedom. It's wrong, it's gross, but less freedom is good, apparently.
Less freedom is good. By the way, different kinds of mustard is definitely not good. He also touched on that. I don't know how, but let's watch.
That you begin to feel kind of like I feel when I'm in the condiment aisle at Walmart trying to buy mustard. And there are 197 different types of mustard. And though all I want is just regular mustard, the overwhelming array of options paralyzes me. And I'm just standing there slack-jawed, questioning whether I should be settling for just regular mustard when I could be getting gourmet, Dijon, whole grain, honey French, yellow, spicy brown, white, yellow, German mustard instead.
Mustard, hey, by the way, he's right. There's about 500 different mustards. You know what? You could be a mustard whore and try them all and then find the one that you like at best and then start keeping that one in your house. Again, dating, you can go and date different people, find out what type of persons vibe with you, find out who you are when you're in a relationship with someone else, and then actually maybe end up in a happy place in a relationship with someone that you vibe with, that actually fits your needs and your wants, and you guys make each other happier. It's crazy how that works.
I like that even in his mustard, obligatory mustard joke, mustard comparison, regular dating is superior. I mean, he even says you could try all the mustards and figure out which one that you really like and which one that you would want to continue to eat. Or you could settle. You're even in your analogy saying that arranged marriage is settling, and you might be settling for something that makes you deeply unhappy versus actually finding out what it is that you like and that you would be happy, what mustard you're willing to spend the rest of your life with,
I tell you what, every time I bring home regular yellow mustard, it spends the rest of its life in the fridge uneaten because my wife hates it and I use it once. So that's the arranged agreement we have with yellow mustard. It just sits there and eventually dies. Let's move on to this next story because I know you have some expertise on this. Cracker Barrel, the chain restaurant across the country, not always, but generally in the South, they're now having to pay $9.4 million in damages after a Tennessee man drank a cup of bleach at the restaurant. Let's watch how this went down.
Dining at a Marion County, Tennessee Cracker Barrel in April 2014, William Cronin was served a cup of ice water by a Cracker Barrel employee. As soon as Cronin took a sip of the drink, however, his mouth and throat began to burn. As it turned out, the water served to Cronin was tainted with a corrosive cleaning solution, EcoSan, which can cause severe burns on contact. If ingested, the product can lead to severe digestive tract burns, according to the manufacturer's safety information. That sip left Cronin with permanent debilitating physical injuries for which he is still under medical treatment.
Yeah, I don't know if I can see his tongue at the end. Anyways, so this particular instance, how this happened was this a cleaning solution for the I believe it's the mechanisms and the machines and all of their products as they put these things out. This particular employee put the cleaning solution in a pitcher where water usually goes and put whatever components in rather than maybe their normal processes. And another employee thought it was water. I would assume it must have been slightly yellow, who knows, but imported. And our victim here took several gulps, as his attorney said, because he was quite thirsty. Ray, have you done stuff like this? You've worked in every field, I've heard.
Yeah, my first job ever, I worked in the concession stand at a pool, and my job was at the end of one of my jobs, it was to take the nozzles off the soda machine and put them in the bleach water solution. We did not use a pitcher because one, that's an OSHA violation, and don't want to accidentally kill someone. And shouts out to me. I did that job at 15 years old, and I never killed anybody with bleach or severely permanently damaged them with bleach. But it's just like he drank so much of it. Yeah. He sat down and he drank so much of it. That's so horrifying.
Man, my man must think he's invincible, because if you survive something like that, I mean, by the way, let's jump down to this graphic to you guys here. He developed GI issues shortly after, like regular cramping, bloating, diarrhea, reflux pain after meals. Mr. Smith's injuries were severe and persist enough that he could not work. So although he survived, he did not do well, obviously, who would? And the $9.4 million is just a little piece of some kind of, I guess, consequence for what happened there. And as the chain had to pay, and they didn't like it. They said they respect the legal process, but they disagree. Yeah, we understand. This is from years ago. So yeah, although it was some years ago, we never came to a conclusion. So you can't give that. This happened so many years ago, which was also in their statement. It's not just about that. It's a mistake, it happens. And you know what? Sometimes you have to pay up for it. And sometimes maybe you have to go through a process where you train people and learn from this. It's the end of the day, you guys. I've got good news.
Okay, this one's near and dear to my heart because it's me. This is my thyroidectomy scar that I camouflaged, and that's what it looked like before. So it gave me the confidence, again, to wear tops that didn't show my scar. Okay, this sweet soul lost her eyebrows to illness. So I was able to go in there, recreate a 3-dimensional eyebrow, and make her feel whole again. Okay, this is one of my transgender clients that underwent a top surgery, and we did 2 things. I created a 3D areola, and I revised the scar underneath. And topless for him this summer.
Amazing. That is a paramedical tattoo artist, and she's changing people's lives. People that needed different kinds of surgeries for many different reasons, from self-harm to, as you saw, transgender surgery to top surgery there, to also accidents, cancer patients who had to get skin grafts, all these things. And we're always very big on appearance and how others see us. Even if those people aren't necessarily seeing what we think they're seeing, it does huge things for our self-confidence and willingness, honestly, to just get out of the house sometimes. And she's bringing people's confidence back. And although I've never had to deal with any of these types of problems, it's touching, man, and it's wonderful. I love that there's some help out there for people, and it goes by the way of a tattoo artist. I love this. She's amazing.
It's awesome. Like it is such a happy story. It is such good news. Like especially as she's talking about transgender patients that she's working with who have gone through gender reaffirming surgery, and there are scars that can leave you with that might leave that person a little less confident. So just having a way to feel even more confident in who they are and going out into the world and presenting who they really are to the world is just such a wonderful thing that she's able to do for these people.
Yeah, we see videos of, I've seen these sometimes because I try to find happy things happening where people say, you maybe just compliment someone out on the street just for their outfit. And you're like, oh my God, thank you so much. It's a deal. And sometimes if someone else is in a good place, we have more of that good cheer and that good grace that's passed among each other. And any little bit helps. I love that. Also love you, Ray. Thank you very much for being on the show. Everyone that's out there for watching. Coming up next, we have the damage report with John Ilarola. It's Wednesday. You finally get to find out who's trying to fill those shoes of some guy who used to show up on Wednesdays and talk a lot. Now he talks a little too much here. But anyways, John's gonna come in here in a second, flailing his arms, screaming, saying, "Me, get out of this chair." He'll be here in a second. I wanna thank you guys for being there. We'll be back tomorrow, and my guest will be me. Can't wait to see you guys there. Until then, I will be watching.